Welcome to Egyptian Home in Seoul. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Actually, the 2025 anniversary of 30 years of diplomatic relationship between Korea and Egypt is coming up, but actually our relationship goes back to 1961 when we established the consular relations. I have a lot of plans, like they say, in the pipeline. I think one of the important aspects of it will be cultural. We would like to introduce more Egyptian culture to the Korean people. I know a lot of Korean people, they travel to Egypt, but we want to bring Egypt here. Also, we would like to highlight the economic and investment relations between Korea and Egypt. They've been growing very rapidly in the past couple of years, and there is a lot of potential for more cooperation. This is something that can be in the form of some economic forum or a conference. Of course, a bilateral relation on the highest level is been established for many years, but we are thinking also to have some Egyptian officials visit Seoul on that occasion. Egypt will be hosting the COP27 in less than 50 days, actually. So time is running out, and I keep asking and really pushing the Korean companies to take this opportunity to look at Egypt as a partner for a green economy and hydrogen projects. And you know, Egypt is a civilization that has been in the same place, on the same area, for over 3,000–4,000 years. And one aspect of this civilization is that the ancient Egyptian was in harmony with the environment. And as you know, we are 1 million square kilometers, but we are dependent on the River Nile, which is a source of water. And the water was the life of this civilization. And it gave birth to the Egyptian civilization through agriculture. So we are an agriculture-based civilization. And hence, we are calling for the world to realize this. Now we are facing issues of food security. We are facing issues of pollution. And we are facing issues of not equal distribution of resources. And hence we are very keen to move into the implementation phase of commitments. As you know, in Glasgow last year, COP26 had a lot of commitments, a lot of pledges. Now it's time to move forward, and we are based and positioned in a very unique geographical area where we are in Africa. We are a link and part of the Middle East with Europe. And hence, this area all is really looking forward that Egypt plays a bigger role for attracting the technologies, attracting the economic possibilities for projects, because Africa, for example, is one of the least areas in the world where it is contributing to the pollution in the world, but yet it is suffering from drought, and we have just seen in Pakistan the flooding. So actually time is running out for the human race not to act. So this is what Egypt is trying to say to the world. Please look at it in a serious way. It's time to collaborate together. And here, bilateral relations between Korea and Egypt are very important in this aspect, because Korea has done a great leap in technology and in innovation in the field of environment. And a lot of Korean companies, not only the mega companies, but I think small and medium companies also have a role in this. And we are inviting them to come to Egypt to look at opportunities for how to fight climate change. And I'm sure they will find the right partners either in Egypt or with other parts of the world, where we can have a springboard from Egypt into the African continent and into the region to really do projects which are good for humanity at the end of the day. The climate change is not going to choose a nationality and leave the other. Bargaining is a big thing in Egypt. You have to, in the market, if they ask you for a certain price for a product or something they want to sell, you can make your offer. You kind of go back and forth about the price. And this is the traditional shisha or the hookah for smoking, the tobacco. It resembles the old times. It's not anymore like this, but the buildings are still there. The feeling of the market is still there, and you can see how this has endured time, and this is where a lot of the silverware where you have seen here is being made in small workshops. Food is a big thing in Egypt. Egyptians love food. They love to host guests and to experience with them the enjoyment of eating food. I don't know in Asia, but in Egypt, for example, you use your right hand to serve the food. And this is something is of tradition. And in some places, you will find that the host is maybe overdoing it, but he's overdoing it because he really wants the guest to enjoy the food and to taste from every single plate. It is normal that the guest goes for a second round, third round. It's not an offensive thing to do. And also the costume. When you are visiting somebody in their home, you are kind of observing to be in a bit of a traditional, moderate way when you are visiting the home. So there are traditions and customs which have developed over time, but yet they can be of relationship to the Asian countries. Actually, this is brass works. Brass is also a very traditional craft in Egypt, how to bring the brass and to make it. And this is a traditional coffee. And they make the coffee in this setting. There's usually a tray. Part of the tradition in the old days, and some do it for a pastime and fun time, after you finish your cup of coffee, I will show you what they do. They turn it around and they let it kind of go down the cup, and then they turn it up again and they start to read all the drawings inside the coffee cup. And they usually tell you, okay, I can see that you will travel a very long trip and you will get a lot of money. So most people want to hear the nice positive things. They don't want to hear the bad parts.
So you're my new fortune teller.
Yes, exactly, but through coffee, okay. Which is, you see, it's an exercise of spending time with friends and family. It's not just drinking the coffee. I know here coffee is a big culture in Korea, but this kind of a coffee tradition is a coffee house. A coffee house is there, but you take time to drink the coffee. It's a social exercise, social event more than just drinking the coffee. There are similarities, like here you have certain ingredients and certain dishes that are essential. And let me tell you about the kimchi. It's very similar to something in Egypt. We eat it, but we don't call it kimchi. We call it's pickles, which is known in the Western world. But it's a very similar probiotic, food type that is in the culture. And the pickles are a big thing in Egypt. We do all kind of vegetables into pickles. We do them for feasts, for lunches, for dinners, for breakfast. So it's very similar, like in Korea with the kimchi. This is Korean, and this is very similar to a same tradition we have in Egypt.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I will get you the one that is made in Egypt, and we put them together, and you will see that it's very similar. So probably because we are also related to the sea somehow, because these shells are coming, from the sea. Yeah. You see, this is Egyptian.
Very similar.
Very similar. And they are from two different cultural backgrounds, two different seas, And this is why I have this positive energy about people and connections. Because the more we read about each other, we visit each other, we find more similarities rather than the differences. I mean, from outside, everybody seems to have his own culture and differences, but the more you interact, the more you get to know each other. In Egypt, yes, you will find a lot, even on their social media pages, you will find them putting the pictures of the Korean celebrities and following their news and even translating that into Arabic. So it is a multiplier effect that they know from Korean media, they translate it into Arabic, so more Egyptians know about the Korean drama and the K-pop. Squid Games, I must congratulate you on the Emmys. One of the Egyptian soap operas at a very peak time of showing in Egypt during the Ramadan, where everybody's glued to the TV channel. There was an episode, it's quite known, it's talking about an Egyptian village and the mayor and what's happening in this village. And the mayor falls asleep and he starts to dream that he's inside the Squid Game. And the director was very clever. They were all exactly dressed like what they were wearing, the jumpsuit and the training suits in green color and the game and the big doll. And it was an amazing scene. And actually this shows you how much the drama can use certain things. At that time, we didn't know that it's going to win the Emmy Awards, but this is how popular it was. So this is the important cultural exchange which happens. And I very much want more Korean pop stars to go to Egypt. Now we are open for foreign films to film in Egypt. And this was recently announced in Egypt. So we ask the Korean producers and directors to come and maybe do some films, partly shot here in Korea and with Egypt, and to combine a nice drama or an action movie or a film, because the settings are very different, and I think it will give even more input into the drama and the cultural exchange between the two countries. So K-pop and the K-drama is playing a very crucial role in developing the love of Egyptian people to Korean people. Egypt is like 100 million, and now 50% of this population, was 50 million, are under 30. And because of the social media and all the platforms which are available to watch in electronic format or through TV cable and so on, there is accessibility. And the Egyptian television has shown a number of soap operas from Korea, and they were dubbed into Arabic, and some of them with subtitles in Arabic and with Korean language. So the Korean language became very popular. I will tell you that Egypt is the only country in the Arab world and Middle East that has faculty for teaching Korean language in the University of Heliopolis, Al-Alson faculty, and now there is a new one in Aswan in Upper Egypt. And there are volunteers from Koika that are going there to teach the Korean language. A lot of young Egyptians are learning the language. They're actually mastering it. Some of them I've met here. They've had a master's degree and PhD degree in Korean language. And this, again, it's not only literature, but it opens for them an economic opportunity to work with Korean companies that want to come to the Egyptian market. They can work in the administration, in translation services, and so on, which enables the Korean companies who want to explore the Egyptian market to find young Egyptians with good skills in Korean language. And this really brings the two people together. And I ask here the Korean startups to look and to merge with Egyptian startups, because we have a lot of ideas. Fintech now is another big thing in Egypt. So the Egyptian youth, they are educated, of course, in Egyptian universities. Plus we have the German, the British, the Canadian university. We have a Japanese technical university, and we have a Korean collaboration with one of the universities, Bani Suef, which is linked to the Korean Samsung factory in Egypt. And they train vocational. And they are applying now the training that would be related to the job market needs. So this is also very important, that you study something that's related to the needs of the job market. And this is something that really the government is promoting and helping the youth to explore. So some of the students, they want to work in some big multinationals, which are in Egypt. We have a number of big multinationals working in the Egyptian market, and some, they have other aspirations to do their own project. And there is a lot of support now, even from the banks, to give some soft loans to young who want to start their own projects. And this is because back in the 60s, 50s, and up to the early 70s, Egypt was a socialist system, and it was the government going to employ you after you graduate, this concept of that the government's going to take care of you. Now, no, it's more open market, it's a capitalism, it's a aspiration, it's wanting to prove yourself, and this is what the government is doing. We have a lot of training centers for entrepreneurs and for young people who want to start their own project, a lot of startups. And at the same time, we have a lot of foreigners that come to Egypt to work. There are untraditional jobs, like we have very nice resorts on the Red Sea, so there are lots of diving centers, and a lot of these people who come, they are holders of the PADI, the diving license. So they work in diving centers, they open their own diving centers, and they live there. I know the Koreans, they love to go to Dahab, for example. It's a very nice site for diving. Tourism also is another aspect where a lot of Koreans can work and enhance the number of Korean tourists that go there. If they start to know the Egyptian market, they will be able to kind of collaborate with both ways. We have a number of Egyptian companies that are looking to work with Korean companies, so I'm sure Korean youth can help in this aspect, explain the traditions, explain what are the things the Korean tourist is looking for. So tourism is another aspect, and other aspects are in IT. IT is a big thing in Egypt. A lot of the youth are working with IT. So for Koreans who are very well educated in very reputable universities and institutes in Korea can do this job. A lot of now the companies, they're looking for like cybersecurity, they're looking for marketing online, especially after the COVID-19, a lot of the jobs have been transformed to the online market. And I know here in Korea you have a number of companies that are doing very well. So young people in Korea with experience in that can go to Egypt, because Egypt is 100 million. So you can imagine the internal market plus other markets in the region. Other jobs are like in drama, in the technicalities of drama and all the making of new movies. This is an experience which you have here in Korea, and I'm sure a lot of the Koreans, they have this expertise. We have actually 3 big film festivals, and I ask the Koreans to visit Egypt and participate in these film festivals, and the Cairo, Alexandria, and El Gouna Film Festival. These festivals will create links between the 2 countries. Also in the field of medicine and medical facilities, Korea is very well known for its medical services and the high level of expertise, technicians, and the manufacturing of machines which are used in the medical domain. This is another aspect where Koreans will have definitely an edge in Egypt. So I think the sky is the limit. I can talk forever on the possibilities, but it is of course important to know both the cultures, maybe the language. This will open up more opportunities for Koreans to look for jobs in Egypt. Egypt now is moving from just marketing itself as a traditional historic touristic destination to other new forms of tourism. We have hiking. I know the Koreans, they love hiking, but different type of environment. And we have also adventure sports, and we have a lot of new museums that have been opened and built, We are looking forward to the grand museum, the biggest museum. It will be the biggest for Egyptian history in the world. As you know, the British Museum, the Louvre, or the New York Metropolitan Museum, they all have sections for Egyptian history, but this one will be solely dedicated for Egyptian history, and it will be a modern museum, very high-tech museum. And we have now the National Egyptian Museum for Civilization. This is another place where I ask all the Koreans to visit and not to miss when they go to Cairo. It's a very state-of-the-art facility with a lot of IT and how to bring the history of Egypt's civilization, not just the historic ancient Egypt, but Egypt throughout the history.